Morning, everybody. Welcome into another day of Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order and John Saber with you this morning until 7 a.m. Damian taking a couple of days off here in the midst of college football season. So he'll be back with us on Thursday. But man, oh man, do we have a lot to discuss carrying over from a jam-packed Reaction Monday that we had yesterday. Loved the interaction that we had from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. yesterday. It was just absolutely fantastic. A lot of Auburn discussion, a lot of UAB discussion, a little bit of Alabama discussion thrown in there as well yesterday. But something tells me, Saber, that today the topic of conversation around a lot of circles in the Southeastern Conference will continue to be the Auburn Tigers. So we did have Hugh Freeze's live press conference yesterday, and you got to hear some of that on three-man front if you were tuned in. But man, it was certainly one of the press conferences of all time, and I think we got a little bit of a look into maybe what's going on behind the scenes at the Auburn football program right now, as it was very interesting to say the least. So we'll play plenty of Hugh Freeze for you here as we get rolling along on this Tuesday morning. And that's initially where we were actually going to start, was with Hugh Freeze and some audio from his press conference yesterday. But then later yesterday evening, there was an interview that came out with AL.com and Peter Rauterkus, who we've had on Three-Man Front a few times, does a really great job covering the Auburn Tigers there for AL.com. He actually got an exclusive interview yesterday with John Cohen, who's the athletics director there at Auburn. So obviously a big topic of conversation going into this interview was going to be Hugh Freeze and his future with the Auburn football program. So I'm going to read you exactly what John Cohen said in this interview with AL.com. So first and foremost, when he was asked about the potential of making a coaching change involving Hugh Freeze, the quote from John Cohen, the AD at Auburn, is, quote, "not my expectation at this point." And when he was asked whether or not he expects Hugh Freeze to be the Auburn head coach next season, he said that he approaches things with a never say never attitude. And this is the quote that he gave about Hugh Freeze and if he would be the coach next year at Auburn. Quote, "I don't know if I'm going to walk outside and my car is going to start or not. I think it is. I have an expectation it will. But if my car doesn't start enough, then I will evaluate that and make decisions about my car. But that's not my expectation at this point about our football program." End quote. It's an interesting analogy. Not exactly what I was expecting him to say about Hugh Freeze, but okay.
If you went home today and Paige asked you, "Conrad, do you love me?" Baby, never say never. I don't know if I'm going to walk outside and my car's going to start or not. I think it is. I have an expectation it will. But if my car doesn't start, then I will evaluate that and make the process and make the decisions about my car. But that's not my expectation at this point about our love. Yes, see what happens if that were to be the case.
I would be looking for a new wife. Just like it sounds like in that situation, John Cohen maybe should be looking for another car. Yeah, that I just thought that was kind of a bizarre answer when talking about the future of his football program and Hugh Freeze as the leader of said football program. A couple of other notes from the interview quickly, though. That was really the highlight. But John Cohen said his expectation is that every time that we take the football field at Auburn, that we're going to win the football game. And he finally kind of wrapped up. This was like his closing statement, I suppose you would say. It reads, quote, "My first thought isn't about what's next. My first thought is about, hey, is our expectation to win? And if it is, we keep evaluating and keep moving forward." So that to me, again, it sounds like somebody that's trying to instill confidence in his coach. And look, if you're John Cohen, you want Hugh Freeze to work out, right? You want this season to, you turn it around and you go 5-1 or heck 6-0 the rest of the way, and you find yourself going to a decent bowl game, and this 3-3 start is kind of a thing of the past, and that could happen. I don't think there's a lot of confidence that that's going to happen, But I think we all know that John Cohen wants things to work with Hugh Freeze there. It's just, I just wonder if what you saw, and you saw, there were some reports coming out from other athletic directors around the country after the James Franklin news, and essentially the sentiment was, well, if they were willing to pull the trigger on this guy after 3 bad weeks for $50 million, how many programs across the country do you think are looking and going, yeah, I think it's time we can make a change too. If they can afford that change, then maybe we can do so too. And the buyout that's owed to Hugh Freeze is about a third of what James Franklin is owed. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks and really just remainder of the season there on the Plains. And I think we all understand just how important this game is coming up on Saturday against Missouri, because if you lose that one and you go to 0-4, then we're certainly having a very interesting conversation on Monday, I think, about the future of Hugh Freeze.
Which would be the first time ever, right?
Yeah, no.
Start off 0-4 in conference.
No, surely that's not something that he's done every year that he's been there, right, Saber?
I mean, I'd like to think that is my expectation.
Well, unfortunately, that is not the reality of the situation, because he's already the third or first coach in Auburn history to go 0-3 in SEC play 3 straight years. He would be the first to go 0-4 3 straight years in SEC play. So certainly a lot left for him to prove. And that's only going to get more difficult when you have strife within your locker room and on your football team, which that takes us to kind of the next big takeaway that you had for the Auburn Tigers yesterday. And that was Damari Alston. So if you missed the news, Damari Alston voted a captain in fall camp by his teammates. He came into the year as the starting running back for Auburn, had a nice game against Baylor, 84 yards on the ground, a touchdown, looked the part of an RB1 there for Auburn. Then he got dinged up. And as we know, missed a couple of games there. And then once he came back, just hasn't really been utilized. I mean, his biggest game in the last 3 has been 7 carries for 25 yards against Oklahoma. And so Jeremiah Cobb, you've seen getting a little bit more run as he filled in for Alston and did a nice job. But you can clearly see the role wasn't there for Alston. And admittedly, I can see where that would frustrate him. But we got to hear from Hugh Freeze yesterday. And so quickly, before we discuss the repercussions and what it could mean, this is Hugh Freeze talking about Damari Alston yesterday.
Damari failed to meet the expectations and standards of our program, and we love him, wish him the best, but that's where it's at.
So he would add on to this a couple times throughout the press conference, but he did confirm Damari Alston's no longer a part of the team. Again, he was voted as a captain by his teammates in fall camp. You saw, if you follow, I guess, any Auburn sites or anything on social media or any players, you saw a ton of current players on social media last night going on and voicing their support for Damari Alston and just saying nothing but kind words about how good of a leader he is, how good of a teammate he is. Every intangible that you could have thrown your way, Damari Alston had that thrown his way on social media by his teammates yesterday. So that was really good to see. But it just makes the situation more bizarre. And I think now we understand that it's a situation where he wanted to redshirt because he wasn't being utilized. And he's only played in 4 games this year. And he wanted to preserve an extra year of college eligibility because he's not really being used right now. And I guess Auburn and Hugh Freeze decided that wasn't what they had envisioned for the season. And so they decided it would be best if he was no longer a part of the team and he can now pursue a future and get 1 more year of eligibility next year somewhere else. So just kind of a bizarre situation, though, and certainly not the look that you want when your team is on a 3-game losing streak, you're on the hot seat, and now you have, I mean, not only do you have a player that's leaving your program, you have a team captain. This guy was voted as one of the leaders of this team, and I saw some people around the program and former players and things alluding to comparisons of, I saw people comparing this to, like if Cadillac Williams had gotten kicked off the team or had departed from the team when he was a player, just in terms of the impact, not necessarily on the field, but on the impact that has on the locker room and how liked Damari Alston is there on the plane. So just a bizarre situation, Saber, and not, I thought that press conference could go a lot of ways, and we've still got a lot of audio to hear from that. But hearing that Damari Alston, one of the team captains, is no longer a part of the team, that's not something I was expecting to hear yesterday.
The look that it is and the feel that I guess everyone felt about 1:50, almost 2 o'clock, when the press conference ended yesterday, was that the Rats were like jumping off the ship.
Yeah.
Like that's the feeling, at least from the outside looking in. Now, this could also be something maybe that galvanizes the program. You know, if you lose something like this, like, okay, well, hold on, guys. Like, we gotta double down, buckle up, pull ourselves by our bootstraps or chin straps or one of them, and uh, try and right this ship. But it almost feels like another domino's just waiting to fall. And it's also kind of weird to hear what we just said about the coach, but then him also say this about someone in the program.
Failed to meet the expectations and standards of our program, and we love him, wish him the best, but that's where it's at.
You could almost put that around a lot of the people in the program right now.
I would say you could put that on Hugh Freeze right now. No, I think that's a great point, Zaber, is and again, I think it's the way that Hugh Freeze said it, where it almost I just in my opinion, right? I think it's clear now that this isn't the case, but just the way that Hugh Freeze said that and presented it in that clip we just played you, it makes it sound like he broke a team rule or did something wrong and got booted off the team because, well, he was late to meetings or he missed curfew too many times, or that it just comes off that way as opposed to, and then so when you hear that clip and then you go on social media and you see all these players saying nothing but the best things possible about Damari and how much they're going to miss him and how great he is and how they fully support his decision to not be a part of the team anymore, that's when you start to go, oh crap, like what's the disconnect here where you have a head coach framing it one way and then you have all these players that are supporting a team captain leaving the program in the middle of the season because they understand that he's not, I guess, getting the opportunity he deserves or not being treated right by the coaching staff or whatever. It's certainly a bizarre situation, and
it feels as if he's lost the team. That's how it looks from the outside looking in. When you hear his words, when you hear him saying that, but then the rest of the team is still like, he's our boy, he's our guy. Either they don't have the full facts or they don't agree with what happened, or maybe a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
But when you lose someone as high in the leadership ranks as him from the team, it either had to be something egregious or something that maybe the players just didn't agree with. But if that's the case, then like I mentioned earlier about the next domino to fall, if it is that maybe the coach has lost the team, this could be the beginning of the end.
It certainly could be. And something that's not going to help you win over a locker room is throwing players under the bus. And we got some of that yesterday from Hugh Freeze. So we will play that for you. Some of the highlights of the Hugh Freeze press conference yesterday. It was an absolute, honestly, it was an all-timer. If you're an Auburn fan, it probably hurt a lot of you to hear this, but I'll be honest, some shocking things from Hugh Freeze yesterday in his press conference that tell the tale of what's going on the Plains right now. We'll play that for you next here on Morning JOX.
This song's for you, Hugh Freeze.
618. Welcome back in to Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, John Saber with you. Damien will be back with us on Thursday, taking a couple of days off here and spending a lot of the morning talking about Auburn and Hugh Freeze. So if you missed it in the first segment, or you missed the news yesterday, Damari Alston, the running back and one of the team captains there for Auburn, no longer a part of the team, as they have decided to part ways, and it appears that Alston will look to redshirt this season and enter the transfer portal and get one more year of eligibility somewhere else next year. And we also shared with you an interview that John Cohen, the athletic director at Auburn, did with AL.com yesterday, where he said that his expectation is not to fire Hugh Freeze or have to make a coaching change, but he also compared that to how he expects his car to start every morning. And then if it doesn't start, then he's going to have to get a new car. And it was a bizarre analogy, but that's where we stand right now with Auburn football. And it's only going to get a little more hectic from here. So we have to go to what happened yesterday on the Plains. You had the press conference, Hugh Freeze sitting down with the media for the first time since his post-game presser there after the loss to Georgia on Saturday night. So a couple of days to let some wounds heal, perhaps. But the Auburn media, they had a prerogative yesterday, and I have to give them hats off. They certainly asked the tough questions, and they didn't back down, knowing that it's maybe a little bit of a just some trying times down there on the Plains. And they asked tough questions, though, and Hugh Freeze answered them. And there's some interesting answers in there. So let's start off. We'll start at the beginning. So this was Hugh Freeze kind of getting going, looking back on the Georgia game. This is him. This is cut number 1. This is him talking about the struggles in the second half compared to the first half, and how some of the things that Auburn was having success with in the first half, for some reason, was not translating in the second half.
The same calls that were executed beautifully in the first half are some of the same calls that against the same looks that did not get executed in those game-defining critical moments. And it's really hard to understand and put your finger on it, but that's what we have to do as coaches, is to figure out, how to help our kids believe.
So there you go. So that's Hugh Freeze talking about how the players weren't executing the same things in the second half that they were in the first half. Okay, I mean, that's nothing too crazy, but you're throwing the players under the bus. But
isn't that kind of on him?
I would think so. Also, and again, maybe this will, maybe someone can take me to school on this, but I guess I also look at it as, Kirby Smart is one of, if not the best coaches at making adjustments in college football. If at some point in the second half you're calling the same things as the first half and they're not working, do you not maybe try to go somewhere different? And I'm not saying that the players do not deserve some of the blame, right? Because they're the ones out there playing, but I would, like you said, Saber, I would think a lot of this falls on you as the head coach if you're Hugh Freeze. But all right, let's continue on. So this is him talking more about some of the lack of execution. So this is him talking about missed assignments. So the missed assignments that they had in the Georgia game, one drive in particular, the drive where Georgia scored to make it 20-10, was not a good one for Auburn, but specifically calling out certain things that the players were not able to do on Saturday night.
Had our season low in MAs, 23, which is really, really good for an entire football game. However, on the 17-play drive that sealed the game for them, we had 11 of the 23. Same calls, against the same type of looks, and we don't keep the same poise and make the same plays that we had proven to make for 3 earlier quarters. Same thing offensively. A play that gains 15 yards early in the game against the same look has a -2 because we MA on a blocking assignment, or a pass that was an easy completion became much more difficult for some reason.
Okay, so there you go. Now we're definitely throwing the players under the bus now, right? Especially there at the end where you can hear, well, certain, harder to throw the football in the second half, I guess, than it was in the first half of the game. And again, you go and you listen to other coaches, right? Go and listen to Kenny Dillingham. Go and listen to what he said after Arizona State lost to Utah on Saturday. And then come and listen to what Hugh Freeze is saying today or yesterday about his Auburn players and his team. Yes, the players have to go out there and execute. We all understand that. Missed assignments are going to happen, as he said. Do you want to have half of your missed assignments for the entire game on one drive in crunch time? Absolutely not. And that's not a great look. But at the same time, you are the head coach of the football program. If guys are not in position, if guys do not understand the assignment, if guys do not understand the playbook well enough at this point, that falls on you. And you can call out, this player missed a block here, this player missed a throw here, this player dropped a pass here, and we can all watch that stuff and understand, yes, that's a play that should have been made. I understand that. But when it's happening week after week after week after week after week and year after year after year, at some point, you got different players in there. Why are they still making the same mistakes? Why do you still have boneheaded decisions being made? Why are simple passes not being completed? Why are you getting away from the run game in the second half when it worked so well in the first half? These are all things that fall on one person, Hugh Freeze, because he is the head coach of that football program.
And even if he were to come out and say all of that, which, to be fair, I feel like most of that he does Saturday in the post game. He'll say, like, ultimately it falls on me, and we're not doing this, we're not doing that, and ultimately it falls on me. So I will give him credit for that. And okay, I understand that. So how do we fix it? What are the steps that we need to take to resolve this issue? And either they're not being found, or what ultimately ends up happening more often than not is it feels like he's kind of just like dug in. It's like, this is my way. I know it works. You're doing it wrong. You've got to do it right. And it's like, okay, well, I'll try. And even and for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to be working, or maybe it does for a little bit. And then he goes back to, all right, well, let's try this. And, well, it's the same thing, and now it's not working. Well, it's going to work. You just need to do it. Well, it doesn't seem to be working right now, so are you going to be stubborn and stick with that, or maybe try something else?
It's a fair question to ask. All right, let's move on with, this is my favorite. This was my favorite quote from yesterday. And so this one is about expectations. And so part of this clip, you're going to hear the question that was asked by Mike Gittins of the War Report. So you'll hear part of Mike's question, and then immediately it'll go into Hugh Freeze's answer. But this is him talking about how he can't control your expectations for Auburn football.
At what point, though, is the results a reflection on the leadership and the coaching? How much of that are you owning? What are you changing this week? Like, why would fans expect a different result this Saturday?
I can't control what your expectations are or what theirs are. I know what ours are. Ours are to get ready to go win a football game, just like they were last week. And I thought we had a really good plan for our kids to do that. You don't always win in this league, and we knew that when we came here, when we were starting to build, and we're there. And we do have to get different results, and we all know that when we sign up for it. But anybody that looks at it and doesn't see that it's very, very close and attainable really don't know what they're talking about. And so we've got to get different results. And, you know, there's one way to do that. Go back to work, and let's get better at learning how to win when we get those opportunities, and hopefully get a few breaks that go our way also. And, you know, and let's get on the winning column and see if we can't get on a run.
Whew, all right, that one's a doozy right there. So the coach that was at SEC Media Days talking about how they need to be competing for a college football playoff spot, they need to be in the conversation late in the season, that guy can't control your expectations, but he has no problem going out and sharing his expectations. But those shouldn't be your expectations, because why would you listen to the head coach and what he expects from his football team and adopt that as your expectations for the program that you've supported for decades, and you spend a lot of money on Saturdays to go and tailgate and go to games or go to different events, or you contribute to NIL. But no, you shouldn't have expectations. He can't control what your expectations are, Saber. He can control what his expectations are and make those known, but then when he's not meeting them, that's not on him. He can't control what your expectations have now become for the program. That's That right there, look, you could give him a pass, I think, for a lot of things that he said yesterday. That one right there, that is what you say when you know you're a dead man walking.
I feel like I feel a little bad for him because I think what he's saying, or some of the things, or at least what he's trying to put across, is, if not right, at least I understand in that they are close. They are 0-3 in conference, but look at who they've lost to. Like, they've lost to teams in the top 10. I mean, that's the SEC, but also how many other teams in this league would have gone to Oklahoma, to A&M, and
Playing one-score games and things like that.
and have been very, very close in a lot of these. And granted, yes, I know A&M got a little out of hand late, but still, like, they had the chance and opportunity, especially in the A&M game early on in Georgia, really in the first half until that controversial play. They are right there. They are close. And so I feel bad for not only Hugh Freeze and Auburn like this, because it feels like you are doing something. It's like if it were 2012 Auburn, when like they are just not on the field with any of these opponents. Like, okay, fine. Like, well, we're right there. We're right close. If he were saying all of that and the results were completely different, it's like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. But I feel like he just doesn't know how to say what he wants to say, because he is right. Like, they are close. He is right. Like, the players, we just need to go back to work. But for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe because he just doesn't have the fire and passion, and we see it sometimes, but he just comes across as, well, all right, well, maybe we'll just get him next time. Oh, well, and there's like the Kirby Enthusiasm music playing in the background, or maybe he's just moping like Eeyore or something. I don't quite know, but it's
the fact that you're hearing that after every game. I think that's where, if you're an Auburn fan, you start to get tired, because what you're saying, right? You are competitive in these games, right? Like, I mean, Oklahoma and Texas A&M, you had the ball late in the fourth quarter with a chance to win both of those games. Like, I would say that's a competitive football game, right?
All three, really.
But at a certain point, you don't want to keep hearing, you don't want to keep hearing that, right? You want to actually win those close games and get over that hurdle.
Especially in year 3.
Bingo. Especially in year 3. So that's some of the highlights from Hugh Freeze yesterday. As it was a doozy of a press conference, and that is being reflected right now on the Courtesy GMC text line. So if you want to join in the conversation, a lot of you already have this morning, 205-834-9450. Your thoughts, your frustrations with Auburn and Hugh Freeze. Maybe you're an optimistic Auburn fan. Maybe you still believe that this season can be salvaged. And we'd love to hear from you. Again, 205-834-9450 as we get your input, your thoughts on what's going on the Plains next, here on the Tuesday edition, of Morning Jocks. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, John Saber with you until 7 a.m. when we will hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning as they will continue the college football conversation from 7 until 10. Then we'll have three-man front 10 to 2 out at Social Taco in Homewood. And, of course, Paul Feinbaum from 2 to 6 right here on Jocks. So spent the first half of the show today talking about Hugh Freeze and Auburn. If you missed his press conference yesterday, some very interesting comments from the head coach of the Tigers yesterday. And we also, including the news about Damari Alston, if you missed that, the Auburn running back and team captain is no longer with the program. They have agreed to part ways, and the belief is that Damari Alston is going to seek a red shirt and come back next year for an extra year. Well, he'll transfer, but be able to come back next year for one final season of college football elsewhere. And I guess him and the Auburn coaching staff maybe didn't see eye to eye on that decision, and so that's where we are right now. But he is officially no longer with the program, according to Hugh Freeze yesterday. But we've gotten a lot of you chiming in as we played some of the clips from yesterday's press conference for you, and a lot of you still venting your frustrations from over the weekend. And there's no better place for you to do that than the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. So this one comes in. It says, if Hugh Freeze has lost the locker room, the on-the-field product will show it this weekend, a double-digit loss to Missouri, and then we will have breaking news on Sunday morning if that's the case. We will certainly see. This one rolls in. It says, the frustrating part being an Auburn fan is he's right now. We could be 6-0, but that somehow is going to translate to 5-7. Yeah, I mean, you really are when you, I mean, and Saber brought up the point, right? You're not getting absolutely blown out in these games. It's the fact that if you had any semblance of an offense, and I mean, you go back, you look at the second half of Texas A&M, was it the fourth quarter of A&M or Oklahoma where they had 1 yard of offense? I can't remember which one of those games it was, but you have 1 yard of offense in the fourth quarter of a game that it's a one-possession game. You're right there, and that's all you can muster.
I want to say it was A&M, and I thought it was -1.
Or -1. You
they
might
ended
be
up
right.
getting something, and it was like, okay, you're positive. It's up to 2 now.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. It's just crazy. And again, it goes back to you hired Hugh Freeze because he's an offensive coach, and he was supposed to come in and be this offensive guru and quarterback whisperer in the SEC. And you're 15th in total offense right now in the SEC. Something has to give there.
You let the chef cook, which understandable. Okay, fine. You let him, like Bill Parcells said, all right, well, he went out and he shopped for the groceries. He went out and cooked, and he burnt stuff. It's like, oh, okay. All right, well, so we burned it in. We brought in Peyton Thorne. Okay, well, that's fine. All right, well, we'll give you another chance. And then he burnt it again.
Yeah.
And then now here we are being served undercooked steak after burning it 2 times. I mean, at some point, you are going to get tired of it. It feels like a lot of people are. And on the flip side of that, if something's going to happen at some point, why not do it now? Like, it feel like if y'all were feeling this way, like, why do it now before or after the Missouri game? Because then you still got 3 other games. Like, it's do they think that bringing in a whole nother, well, not a whole nother staff, but like just promoting DJ Durkin or someone, like, all right, well, that's the change that we need to right this ship? Although I'd say that because last time they got rid of the coach, it felt like, okay, well, maybe things are turning in the right direction. And it doesn't help that UCLA is out here being world beaters. They got rid of their coach, and all of a sudden, oh, that's all it took. That's who was weighing us down.
Yeah, that's actually that is a fair point because I mean they certainly got some heat, some momentum under Cadillac, and I mean, yeah, UCLA is a good example of that. Yeah, I would think that this weekend would, again, I don't know anything. I don't.
That feels like the rumor and the sentiment going around that if he can't do it this weekend, which, okay, fine, I get that, but also, is Missouri like 16?
Well, and that's the thing is it's interesting because Auburn's actually the favorite. According to Las Vegas in this game, I think it's a 1.5 point favorite right now, and it's because they're playing at home. But yeah, it's weird because it's
according to Vegas, they're basically the same.
Yeah, so it's like you're losing to the 4th straight ranked opponent. Like I understand both sides of the argument of okay, well, how many teams would have gone through that 4-game gauntlet of ranked opponents and won all of them, right? And I think that I understand that point of it, but it's also at what point, you're not going to be able to sell to the fan base year after year of, well, when we get an SEC play, we're going to beat Kentucky, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt when they don't have Diego Pavia. And every other game, maybe we steal a Texas A&M every now and then, right? And I think that's where a lot of it comes from of, yeah, you're losing to good teams. Nobody's saying that. But it's just crazy that
problem is you're in the league with a bunch of good teams.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
you've got to be able to beat those good teams eventually and get over the hump.
Vanderbilt's favored against LSU this weekend.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's see. Mike chimes in on the text line. He says, I don't blame Damari Alston. Hugh Freeze doesn't use his running backs right. If I was a running back, I wouldn't even consider playing for him.
I mean, we saw it last year with Jarquez. He kept saying, we got to run the ball more. We got to run the ball more. And then get out there.
We've heard that for years. Yeah.
Peyton Thorne starts throwing around. And then the one time he actually runs the ball, I want to say it was Kentucky. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Who would have thought? And then reverted back to throwing the ball.
Yes. Someone texted in, Missouri has now shifted. Missouri is now a 1.5 point favorite. Thank you for texting that in. Okay. Well, that line has shifted.
Well, either way,
3 points already.
They opened as a
Auburn
favorite.
opened as a favorite on Saturday or Sunday. Yes. That is correct. This one says, I would be shocked if Cam Coleman doesn't enter the portal. Could someone explain to me why they were throwing 5-yard passes to him in the second half? Again, you go and look at a guy like Cam Coleman, the fact that he doesn't average 12 targets a game, and I mean, at a certain point, right, with what the down the field passing game has looked like for Auburn, and you go and you look and you say, okay, well, he's not hitting that. He had a touchdown to Eric Singleton in the Georgia game, right? It would have been like a 60-yard touchdown, huge momentum play, barely overthrew him, and that was that, right? And I guess you just go and you look and you say, at some point, if you can't consistently make these throws, just start chunking it up for him. Because, I mean, he's a 50-50 guy. He's going to go after it and get it. At some point, you just kind of need the threat of throwing it down the field, even if you're just chunking it up and hoping that Cam Coleman can go and get it. Like, throw an interception. I mean, seriously, at this point, if you're Jackson Arnold, it's like just try something
else.
Try something else. Yes, I think that's what a lot of people want to see. See, this person says, if Cadillac was the coach right now, we'd be undefeated because he would run the ball down everyone's throat. I don't know if you'd be undefeated, but, I mean, you certainly wouldn't have a worse record than you have right now. Let's see. CJ says, I think it has a lot to do with the fact they've lost to 3 straight ranked teams, and Alabama has won against 3 straight ranked teams. You know that they're always basing themselves on what Alabama is doing. Maybe that's a little bit of it, but yeah, I mean, another person says, well, Alabama just beat 3. Yeah, and I know that they did that, but I think a lot of people are maybe frustrated by other things. Let's see. This person sending in. Yeah. This person says, if Missouri goes up by 14, the team's going to lay down. They will quit on Hugh Freeze. Freeze wasted a year of eligibility for this team, and he's sending in pictures of some of the Instagram posts you have of some of the players that were voicing their support of Damari Alston yesterday if he announced his decision to leave. This text says, all right, he says, hey, it's okay, man. Let Auburn go through what they're going through, because as an Alabama fan, I would definitely take Cam Coleman. Yeah, I think a lot of people would.
Yeah, he may be available sooner than you think. Yeah.
Possible. Yeah, this one says, I agree with y'all. Cam is a freak athlete. He will get it or draw a penalty most of the time. Throw it up. See, this is what I like to see, though. Randall chimes in right here. He says, Auburn's going to win their next 5 games in a row. I hope you're right, Randall. I truly do hope that you're right. I think a lot of people are looking for that confidence and that optimism, and they can't find it right now. So good for you, Randall, for having that, and hopefully a win over Missouri this weekend will spark something. And we're having a different tone and conversation next Monday, but certainly for right now, kind of a lot up in the air. So we'll continue to get your thoughts on the Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. But we do want to get you up to date on that other team, that team that has won 3 straight games against ranked opponents, as our listeners have pointed out this morning. The Alabama Crimson Tide got some injury updates yesterday from Kalen DeBoer and some early thoughts on the Tennessee matchup coming up this Saturday. We'll dive into Alabama next on JOX. Welcome back into Morning JOX, 6:49 here on your Tuesday. Conrad and John here with you as we hand you off to McElroy and Kubik in the morning coming up at 7 o'clock. But still a little bit of time to talk some college football here. But we all know that as football season moves along, you know that means changes in the weather are coming along with it. So protect your HVA system with a checkup from a trained comfort specialist so that when the cold weather hits, you'll have peace of mind that you're protected by America's most reliable and trusted brand. Find a comfort specialist near you at train.com today. So spent a lot of time so far talking about Auburn and Hugh Freeze, what's going on down there on the plains. So let's quickly pivot to Tuscaloosa and hear a little bit from Kalen DeBoer because we got his press conference yesterday too, and just wanted to share a couple of quick updates there. So first off, some injury updates from Kalen DeBoer. This is the latest status for Jam Miller, Derek Meadows, Caden Jones, guys of that nature.
Jalen's been sick. Jalen Hale's been sick. That was the reason why he last minute got put on the report. Who else? Bach had a hand injury in practice last week, and he'll be back out there practicing, and we'll see kind of as the week goes on how he goes there. Obviously, he plays receiver, so that affects you a little bit. But there's other things he can do for our football team, and he's in great spirits, and so he'll go through that. Jam, and Derek will both be going through their protocol this week. I hit on everyone. Caden Jones, he had to have surgery on an ankle injury, and so he'll be down for a little while.
So there you go. There's the latest injury news from Kalen DeBoer. Obviously, Jam Miller going to be probably the one people are most curious about this week, as he is the starting running back, and certainly would be good to have him against Tennessee, but want him to be healthy and make sure that they do everything right through concussion protocol. So I'm sure we'll get updates on him and Derek Meadows as the week progresses here and they go through that protocol. All right, let's wrap up with this. Kalen DeBoer on the Tennessee matchup, talking a little bit about the rivalry and what he wants to see from the fans this Saturday in Bryant-Denny.
Get a great opponent with Tennessee coming in here this weekend. Understand the rivalry, and it's a lot of fun for our fans, and it goes back obviously generations. We understand how big of a deal this game is to them. We understand how big of a deal this game is to us right now in the season that we're in, and that's what we're focused on. But Coach Heupel, nothing but the utmost respect for him and his staff, just what they're doing and what he's done. Tennessee, his coaching career, an outstanding coach, great football mind. You can see it on the football field. You can see the culture that they've built there too, and looking forward to a great game. We need our fans loud, extremely loud. We need an environment, that's the best in the country here this weekend. Again, we're playing for a lot each week, and we appreciate the support we get. Our players feel the energy and feed off of it.
So there you go. Kalen DeBoer encouraging the fans to come and be loud on Saturday night as Alabama will host Tennessee, their fourth straight game against a ranked opponent, and, of course, a rivalry matchup where Tennessee has won 2 of the last 3 years. However, it has been quite some time since Tennessee has found victory within the confines of Bryant-Denny Stadium. So here we go. Let's go back to the text line here for the last couple of minutes of the show because y'all have been fantastic with all the interaction going on this morning. Like one of you who just chimed in and goes, this will be a Ty Simpson legacy game on Saturday. Tennessee is last place in the SEC in passing defense. That is correct. He says Ty Simpson goes for 400 plus on Saturday. That'd be something. That would certainly be something.
That's the legacy game? Tennessee? Oh, okay.
I thought that, I guess Georgia was a legacy game. I guess Tennessee would be a legacy game. Auburn, maybe have a few of those.
All right.
But, hey, if you go and throw for 400 yards, you can call it whatever you want. That
might be it, yeah.
You can call it whatever you want. Let's see. Brian from Hoover chimes in. He says, I really feel like the officials do not like Hugh Freeze. There's too many bad calls going against Auburn. Just my take. I don't think anybody's really going to argue with you about the number of bad calls that have gone against Auburn. They certainly have they certainly haven't gotten any help from the officiating crews. I 100% agree with that statement. But let's also not forget that that's not why they have lost their last 3 games in SEC play. Let's see. John Mack chimes in. He says, I can tell Saber's in the house this morning because we have good music, not the Florida-Georgia line crap.
Honestly, what's more surprising is that people didn't confuse us today.
Oh, it's okay. Somebody called in yesterday and thought I was Greg on 3-man front. So
Oh, okay. All right.
It's okay. I'm Greg or Saber, not Conrad.
Do you think we need to tell Tyler Watts?
Yeah, we may need to tell Tyler Watts at some point that we're different people. That might come in handy. Chris chimes in. He says, I expect Alabama-Tennessee to be a lower scoring game this weekend. That's been the trend the last 3 weeks for Alabama, at least. And this text rolls in. It says, Hugh Freeze can say whatever he wants, be defensive. It all falls back on the process, discipline, coaching, leadership, and attention to detail. Appreciate y'all chiming in this morning. We're back tomorrow at 6. McElroy and Kublick in the morning is next.